Ready to unlock some serious success secrets?
Oh, yeah.
We're diving deep into Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich today.
A classic.
A book so packed with wisdom from America's top achievers.
It's practically bursting at the seams.
You're going to hear anecdotes and advice straight from the source.
Straight from those who made it big.
This book isn't just about money, though.
No.
It's more like,
a blueprint.
yeah, a blueprint for reaching any goal.
Any goal you set your mind to.
A whole philosophy for shaping your thoughts.
And attracting what you desire.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little.
Yeah.
This book was actually inspired by Andrew Carnegie.
The steel magnate.
And people say the formula inside has created millionaires by the dozen.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. So,
Hill spent over 25 years interviewing hundreds of successful people.
hundreds.
To figure out what made them tick.
Wow.
He boiled it all down to 13 core principles.
13.
13, a roadmap to achieving your dreams.
And one of the first principles Hill hammers home is the power of,
Burning desire.
yes. He says it's like the launch pad.
The launch pad for any kind of achievement.
Exactly. He even says riches begin in the form of thought. Meaning the only limit to what you can achieve
is the limit you set in your own mind.
I love that.
It's powerful stuff.
It's like that story Hill tells about Edwin Barnes.
Who was dead set on becoming Thomas Edison's business partner.
This guy literally burned all his bridges.
Showed up at Edison's office and declared his intention.
I mean, he didn't become partners right away.
But his unwavering desire eventually landed him that coveted spot.
Barnes's story is a perfect example of what unwavering desire and persistence can achieve. He was willing to start from the bottom, do whatever it took to get closer to his dream.
And that level of belief in his own desire ultimately made it a reality.
It reminds me of Marshall Field, who rebuilt his store on the same spot after the Great Chicago Fire.
Talk about a burning desire.
After that devastating fire, a lot of merchants were debating whether to rebuild or move on. Most decided to cut their losses. But Field pointed at the rubble and said he'd build the world's greatest store right there,
No matter what.
no matter how many times it burned down.
And you know what?
But
He did exactly that.
amazing.
Both Barnes and Field had this indomitable spirit. They didn't let setbacks or circumstances dictate their future. That burning desire fueled their actions and ultimately led them to success.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Yeah, think about it.
What's your burning desire?
What's that one dream you're willing to fight for, no matter what?
Think about it for a second.
What are you so passionate about?
That you'd burn all your bridges and keep pushing, even when things get tough.
That's a question worth pondering. Hill reminds us that success, whether it's financial or something else entirely, isn't just about hard work.
It's about so much more.
It's about setting clear goals and having a plan to achieve them.
Next, Hill dives into the power of imagination. He calls it the workshop of the mind, where your desires can become reality.
Hill argues that the creative imagination works automatically.
Automatically.
But it needs a little push to get going.
And that push.
That push comes from a strong desire.
Desire that stirs your emotions.
Exactly.
He tells an amazing story about an old kettle to illustrate this point.
An old kettle.
An old kettle. A young clerk buys this beat-up old kettle and a wooden paddle from a doctor, along with a secret formula scribbled on a piece of paper.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
He paid a pretty penny for what seemed like junk, but what he was really buying was an idea.
So it wasn't the kettle itself that was valuable.
Exactly. It was the idea behind it. Combined with the clerk's imagination and desire, that turned it into something extraordinary.
Hill even says the clerk mixed in a special ingredient the doctor didn't know about, and that ingredient was imagination.
And that imagination turned this simple purchase into a gold mine. He used that secret formula to create a wildly successful product, the old kettle.
Wow.
That employed tons of people and brought prosperity to an entire city. It even had a global impact.
The old kettle story shows us that what we perceive as limitations are often just limitations we put on ourselves. When you combine desire with imagination, you can break through those barriers and achieve amazing things.
Another inspiring example Hill shares is about Dr. Frank Gonzalez, who dreamed of starting his own college. He needed $1 million to make it happen, which seemed impossible at the time.
But Gonzalez had this burning desire.
This clear vision of his dream college.
He thought about it constantly, day and night.
Until one day, inspiration struck.
What did he do?
He decided to give a sermon called What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million. He poured his heart and soul into it, sharing his vision with complete conviction.
And guess what? Philip Armour, the meatpacking magnate, happened to be in the audience that day. Gonzalez's passion and the clarity of his vision moved Armour so much that he approached him after the sermon. Armour believed in Gonzalez's dream.
And gave him the $1 million he needed to establish the Armour Institute of Technology.
It just goes to show the power of combining a burning desire with imagination and a little bit of faith. Don't ever underestimate what your imagination can do. It can be your most powerful tool in achieving your goals.
Hill stresses that specialized knowledge is also crucial.
Specialized knowledge.
He says, knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action to the definite end of accumulating money.
In other words, knowledge by itself is only potential power. It becomes real power when you put it into action.
Think about Thomas Edison, who only had 3 months of formal schooling.
Or Henry Ford.
Yeah, Henry Ford, who never even finished 6th grade.
They knew the value of specialized knowledge and were always seeking it out.
Hill also points out how important it is to know how to acquire knowledge. He says specialized knowledge is actually one of the cheapest services you can get. Just look at the payroll of any university and you'll see what he means.
True.
He tells this fascinating story about a grocery store salesman who lost his job during the Depression.
Tough times.
He realized there was a need for bookkeeping services.
Oh.
So he decided to reinvent himself as a bookkeeper.
But did he know how?
He didn't know how to market his services. So he teamed up with a clever typist who helped him create a compelling brochure.
Smart move.
Then they went door to door to businesses, presenting their well-crafted brochure. Within a short time, the salesman had more bookkeeping clients than he could handle. He created his own job by finding a need and using his specialized knowledge to fill it.
This brings up a really important question.
Was that?
What specialized knowledge can you leverage to achieve your goals? What skills can you develop to set yourself apart?
Think about what skills or knowledge are in high demand in your field right now. What could you learn that would make you even more valuable?
Exactly. Hill also emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people.
Which brings us to his concept of the mastermind.
The mastermind.
Yeah, it sounds almost mystical.
Not magic, but it can certainly feel that way sometimes.
What exactly is it?
It's all about combining the knowledge and efforts of 2 or more people who are working together harmoniously toward a common goal.
So it's kind of like a superpowered think tank.
Yes.
Where the combined brain power is greater than the sum of its parts.
Precisely.
Like a group of batteries working together.
Yes.
Generating far more power than a single battery could on its own.
That's the idea.
Hill believed that no one could achieve true greatness without tapping into this mastermind principle.
Makes sense to me.
Even brilliant minds like Thomas Edison collaborated with others.
Of course.
Didn't Henry Ford attribute part of his success to his own mastermind alliances?
Absolutely. Ford was close friends with some incredibly bright individuals, like Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, John Burroughs, and Luther Burbank, to name a few.
Different perspectives.
Right.
Knowledge and skills undoubtedly contributed to his phenomenal success.
He understood the value of surrounding himself with people who could challenge and inspire him.
So the key takeaway here is to build a network of people who can help you grow and achieve your goals.
Find individuals who complement your strengths and weaknesses, creating a synergy that can lead to remarkable results.
Now, this next concept might raise a few eyebrows.
What's that?
Hill also talks about harnessing sexual energy.
Oh, okay.
And transmuting it into creative energy.
That's definitely a topic that could spark some interesting conversations.
But Hill isn't talking about
indulging in sexual activity, right?
Right. He's talking about redirecting that powerful energy into other areas of your life.
So it's about taking that raw energy and transforming it into a driving force for achievement in all areas
of your life. Exactly.
Hill observed that people driven by sexual desire often display heightened imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creativity.
So he believed that by consciously channeling this potent force, you could apply those same qualities to your work and other pursuits.
He uses some pretty vivid imagery to describe this process, comparing it to a hydroelectric plant converting water power into electricity.
Interesting analogy.
He believed this transmutation was a key factor in the development of true genius.
I see.
He studied the lives of many highly successful individuals and found a correlation between their accomplishments and their ability to channel sexual energy into creative endeavors.
Fascinating.
Hill also pointed out that some of the greatest achievements
Don't happen until.
don't happen until later in life,
Oh,
often after the age of 40 or even later.
okay.
He believed that's because it takes time to master the art of transmuting sexual energy and cultivating those creative faculties of the mind. It's a fascinating concept that definitely deserves further exploration.
Right.
It does require a lot of self-discipline and understanding of your own nature, though.
Now, let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about something Hill calls the 6 ghosts of fear.
6 ghosts of fear.
Yeah. These are 6 basic fears
Okay.
that he believes can hold people back from reaching their full potential.
Interesting. What are they?
Those fears are poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age,
Okay.
and death.
Got it.
Hill believed these fears often lurk in our subconscious,
Influencing our thoughts and actions.
without us even realizing it.
He argued that fear is a major roadblock to success because it can paralyze our ability to think clearly, make decisions,
Yeah.
and take action,
He really delves into the fear of poverty.
explaining how it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy,
He talks about how people consumed by this fear tend to focus on lack and scarcity.
which actually attracts more of the same into their lives.
And he doesn't sugarcoat the harsh realities of poverty either.
No.
He describes how it can erode a person's self-respect and spirit.
Even when they know intellectually
Yeah.
that their worth isn't tied to their financial status.
Right. He shares a poignant anecdote about a man who loses his job
Oh, no.
and is forced to take a low-paying position far below his capabilities.
So even though he knows he's worth more,
Yeah.
the experience of poverty weighs heavily on him.
Affecting his self-perception
Right.
and his ability to see himself as capable and deserving.
It's a reminder that the fear of poverty isn't just about a lack of money.
Yeah.
It's about a mindset of scarcity that can seep into every area of your life,
Hill also explores the fear of criticism
highlighting how it can stifle creativity.
and prevent people from pursuing their dreams.
It's amazing how many people make decisions based on what others might think or say.
Yeah, the fear of criticism can be so paralyzing,
Absolutely. It can lead to conformity.
preventing people
Yeah.
from expressing their individuality and taking risks.
He even suggests that parents who constantly criticize their children can cause lasting damage to their self-confidence and potential.
It's a powerful reminder that we shouldn't let the opinions of others control our lives.
As Hill writes,
He says,
the fear of criticism robs man of his initiative, destroys his power of imagination, limits his individuality, takes away his self-reliance, and does him damage in 100 other ways.
Hill's insights on the fear of ill health are equally compelling.
How so?
He describes how this fear can manifest in various ways,
Such as?
from hypochondria to avoiding physical activity,
He points out that constantly dwelling on illness can weaken the body's resistance.
making you more susceptible to disease,
He even talks about how the fear of ill health can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
where negative thoughts and anxieties contribute to the very conditions people fear.
That's scary.
He also addresses the psychological aspects of this fear,
Wait.
describing how some people use imaginary illnesses to gain sympathy or avoid responsibility. Hill suggests that a healthier approach is to focus on maintaining a positive mental attitude,
Okay.
engaging in regular exercise,
Yeah.
and cultivating a sense of gratitude for the amazing things your body can do.
Good advice.
Then there's the fear of old age, which Hill suggests often stems from a combination of things, like potential financial insecurity
Yeah.
and negative stereotypes associated with aging.
Our society often portrays old age as a time of decline and irrelevance,
Leading people to fear the loss of their physical and mental abilities.
as well as their social standing.
And this fear can lead people to slow down prematurely, limiting their activities and experiences.
But Hill argues that aging can actually be a time of great wisdom, self-awareness, and fulfillment.
He does.
He encourages readers to embrace the aging process,
We're
focusing on maintaining a healthy lifestyle and pursuing activities that bring them joy and purpose.
And of course, Hill addresses the fear of death.
Perhaps the most universal and primal fear of all.
He suggests that a lot of the fear surrounding death
Is rooted in
religious dogma and cultural conditioning.
Interesting.
He reminds us that death is an inevitable part of life.
And that fearing it only robs us of the joy and richness of the present moment.
He even suggests that by accepting death as a natural transition,
We can.
we can free ourselves from its grip and live more fully.
He does make a good point there.
He reminds readers that matter and energy can't be destroyed.
Only transformed.
Perhaps death is simply a transformation into a different form of existence.
Makes you think.
Hill acknowledges that the fear of death can be incredibly intense.
And debilitating.
He shares a powerful anecdote about a man condemned to death
Oh, wow.
who finds peace and acceptance
Even as...
even as his execution is imminent.
That's incredible. This man's composure, his ability to enjoy his final meal, stands in stark contrast to the fear and anxiety of others facing a similar fate. Hill attributes this man's tranquility to his decision to accept his fate.
So powerful.
So Hill believed that decision, making a conscious, deliberate choice, is the antidote to fear and worry. He suggests we face our fears head-on
Yeah.
and make choices that align with our values and dreams. Indecision, he says, is a breeding ground for fear and anxiety.
So it's not about ignoring our fears, but about acknowledging them and then making a conscious choice to move forward despite them.
Exactly. Hill gives practical advice on how to overcome each of those 6 ghosts of fear.
Okay.
He stresses the importance of replacing those negative fear-based thoughts with positive affirmations and then taking decisive action.
So for instance, if you're struggling with the fear of poverty, what can you do?
Hill suggests developing what he calls a money consciousness. That means visualizing yourself already in possession of wealth and creating a concrete plan to achieve financial abundance.
So it's not just about wishing for riches,
No.
but actively shifting your mindset to attract them.
Precisely. And to conquer the fear of criticism, Hill advises developing self-reliance and the courage to express your unique self without being swayed by what others think. He encourages readers to focus on their own goals and values rather than seeking validation from external sources.
He has this great line,
Part of it.
put your foot upon the neck of the fear of criticism by reaching a decision not to worry about what other people think, do, or say.
Powerful.
He offers similar strategies for overcoming the other fears. For the fear of ill health, he recommends focusing on positive health affirmations, engaging in regular exercise, and cultivating gratitude for your body's resilience.
Good advice.
To combat the fear of old age, he suggests viewing aging as a time of growth and wisdom rather than decline. Find purpose and fulfillment in activities that align with your evolving interests and capabilities.
Makes sense.
And for the fear of death, which can be the most paralyzing fear of all.
He encourages acceptance, recognizing that death is a natural part of life. He suggests focusing on living fully in the present moment rather than dwelling on the inevitability of death.
So how do we actually put all of this into practice? How do we conquer those fears that can hold us back?
Hill keeps coming back to the power of decision. He says, the 6 basic fears become translated into a state of worry through indecision. He's urging us to make a conscious decision to not let fear control our lives.
Right. He uses that powerful example of the man condemned to death who, despite his situation, found a sense of peace and acceptance.
That man's composure wasn't some supernatural ability to transcend fear. It was the result of a decision. He decided to accept his fate and make the most of his remaining time.
It's a stark reminder that we always have the power to choose our response, even in the face of difficult circumstances.
Exactly. Hill believed that making clear, deliberate decisions is key to breaking free from the cycle of fear and worry. He encourages us to define our goals, create a plan of action, and keep moving towards those goals,
Even when.
even when we encounter setbacks and challenges.
He also reminds us that we're not alone in this battle with fear. He says, recognize the fact that you and every other human being are by nature lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all suggestions which harmonize with your weaknesses.
He's not trying to be negative here, he's just being realistic. He wants us to be aware of our natural tendencies so that we can consciously choose to overcome them.
It's like he's saying, hey, we all have these weaknesses, but we don't have to let them define us.
Yeah.
We can choose to rise above them.
Exactly. And he points out that we're constantly bombarded with negative influences, often operating on a subconscious level.
You mean like the news, social media, even casual conversations?
Exactly.
There's so much fear-mongering and negativity out there, it's easy to get sucked in.
Hill suggests being mindful of those influences and making a conscious effort to focus on positive, empowering messages.
Okay.
He also encourages us to surround ourselves with positive, supportive people.
Like building your mastermind. He really drives that point home when he says, keep your mind closed against all people who depress or discourage you in any way. It sounds harsh, but But I get what he's saying.
What's that?
It's about protecting your mental and emotional well-being.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional with who you allow into your inner circle, choosing to spend your time with people who lift you up and inspire you, rather than those who drain your energy and reinforce your fears.
Well said.
Now, toward the end of the book, Hill introduces a technique that some might find a little unconventional. He calls it the invisible counselors technique.
Invisible counselors.
This technique involves creating an imaginary cabinet of wise advisors.
So, people you admire.
Yeah, whether they're historical figures, fictional characters, even living mentors.
It's like assembling your own personal dream team.
Of mentors.
Precisely. Hill suggests holding imaginary meetings with these counselors, seeking their advice and guidance on challenges you're facing or decisions you need to make.
So essentially, he believed that by engaging in this mental exercise,
You could.
you could tap into the collective wisdom and experience of these individuals, even if they're not physically present.
Makes sense.
He describes his own experience with this technique, sharing how he created an imaginary cabinet with figures like Emerson,
Wow.
Paine, Edison, Darwin, Lincoln, Burbank, Napoleon, Ford, and Carnegie. He claims that through regular practice, these imaginary figures became almost real to him, offering insights and perspectives that helped him develop his character and achieve his goals.
Now, I know this might sound a bit out there, but it's essentially a form of creative visualization and self-suggestion.
You mean by vividly imagining yourself interacting with these wise counselors,
Yeah.
you're essentially planting positive suggestions and affirmations in your subconscious mind.
That's the idea.
So it's a way to harness the power of your imagination,
It's huge.
create a mental environment that supports your growth and success.
And Hill reminds us that this entire philosophy is about understanding yourself, understanding others, understanding the laws of nature,
Yeah.
and ultimately understanding happiness. He encourages readers to apply these principles not just to accumulate wealth, but to live a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
So Think and Grow Rich isn't just a guide to financial success.
Right.
It's a roadmap to personal growth and self-discovery.
It's about cultivating a mindset that empowers you to achieve your goals,
Mm.
overcome your fears, and create a life filled with purpose and abundance. And as Hill emphasizes throughout the book,
Yes.
it all starts with a burning desire.
Hill ends the book with a question that really makes you think, what does riches truly mean to you? Is it wealth, happiness, fulfillment, or something else entirely? It's something to ponder as you embark on your own journey towards success.
It's a powerful question, isn't it? Think and Grow Rich gives us a framework.
Right.
But ultimately, we each get to define what success looks like for us.